Hello, everybody. It is Monday, May 22nd. I am Brett Gilbert, joined alongside Emily Gagnon out there at Truist Park. How you doing, Emily?
What's up, Brett? Big one for the Braves. Actually, all week, right? This entire week, we've been talking about it. A big week for the Braves, even though it's really early in the season.
Yeah, big week. Had the Mariners come to town. Sorry, I'm tuning in your audio levels, making sure everybody at home can hear you well. But yeah, Mariners came to town. Now the Dodgers bringing Freddie back home for the second time. And then they've got a big one after this as well. So yeah, a huge week for the Braves, and tonight will be special with Freddie coming home. I know we saw it last year, but it's always fun.
Yeah, we just heard from him, I would say about 2 hours ago in the Dodgers clubhouse, or the visiting clubhouse, I should say, here at Truist Park. And he said this year is going to be very different. The emotions are very different. And it was always going to be that way. If you'll remember at this time last year, I think it was July, when the Dodgers came here, he could barely get words out. He was so emotional. Walking into the press conference that was held for him, and he sat down and he was sobbing and crying so hard he had to get up and leave the room. He eventually did come back because he is a class act, but he told us how difficult it was for him to face us and to be back here. And he loves Atlanta. What I learned about him today is that this is still home. He called Atlanta home. He said, it's so nice to be back home. I slept in my home last night. My dad brought me to the ballpark today. So I thought that was really telling. I mean, this Atlanta, this is home for him. So, whether or not he's going to get a standing ovation tonight like he did last year, we'll wait and see. But fans here not upset with him at all, probably more upset with the front office, the Braves front office, for letting him go. But I do think that's behind the Braves, behind Freddie at this point. Year 2 with the Dodgers, and he recently hit his 300th home run. And I like that when we talked to him about it today, he said that he was very happy to have done that. His dad was more excited than he was, but he said it was never about that for him. It was never about the records for him. It was once about becoming a big leaguer, then staying in the bigs, and then being an everyday guy, and that's what he is now. He's an everyday guy. You can depend on him. The Braves were able to do that, and now the Dodgers are able to do that. So, less than 150 players, which I'm sure you know this, Brett, because you're a big baseball guy, have been able to do that. So it was a big deal for his family, though. Again, Freddie said, for him, it's not about that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. He's from Southern California. But I think everyone could tell when those negotiations were happening 2 years ago now, and the way they ended, that didn't matter. Atlanta was his home. He never wanted to leave this team. There's a lot of speculation and rumors about what exactly happened in those negotiations, but I think one thing that everyone agrees on is that Freddie wanted to return to Atlanta. Obviously, like you said, we've moved on now. I think everyone is okay with where the cards ended up. But I'd be willing to bet he'll still get a standing ovation tonight, and probably tomorrow, and probably the next night too, because that's just how much this guy meant to this clubhouse, to this city, to the team. I mean, he was part of the return of Braves baseball, like the return of what the Braves had known to be in the 90s. He was kind of this generation's Chipper. And so, I mean, he's always, we've got the Acuñas, the Albies, the Austin Rileys. We've got some incredible players here in town. But I don't know if anyone will, at least on this team, will be what Freddie was for this city and for that turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, he was the leader in the clubhouse. He said things that perhaps others couldn't. He led the baby Braves, and he talked about how he won a championship here earlier today, and this will always be, once again, home for him. And it doesn't hurt, Brett, that it probably sells a couple of extra tickets. I mean, when the Dodgers come to town, it's always a hot ticket, but the fact that you get to watch Freddie Freeman as well, listen, for fans, for Braves fans, it's a big deal. So it's going to be, a good series. We haven't mentioned it yet, which is funny because we're talking about Freddie, but these are the two best teams in the National League. They both have, I think, 29 wins each. The Braves are slightly ahead, but the Dodgers are right on their heels. So for both teams tonight, a good measuring stick. We'll see what happens. Again, still very early in the season, but I look forward to the next 3 games, and then the Phillies come to town, and that's always a fun series because of the rivalry.
Yeah, no, that Phillies series is going to be huge because I think it's safe to say the Braves are going to go into that one with the division lead, and the Phillies are going to be looking to gain ground and make this a tight race, and the Braves are going to be looking to stiff-arm them out there a little bit and run away with this thing. I want to move on to basketball here in a second, but while we're on the Braves, I do want to mention, I was just looking at stats earlier tonight, and it is so impressive what this team has done despite being so injury plagued. You know, they don't have Max Fried, they don't have Kyle Wright. They've both been injured to start the year, and those are 2 guys that finished top 10 in Cy Young voting last year. So those aren't, you know, middle of the rotation guys. Those are like your horses, your guys that you're wanting to get, you know, 15 plus wins out of on the season. Despite that, the Braves have been, you know, putting together a rotation made up of minor leaguers and guys whose names we didn't know until this year, your Jared Schusters of the world. Yet they have the 3rd best ERA in baseball. They're behind the Twins and the Rays. 3rd best ERA in baseball with, you know, a banged up pitching rotation is just so impressive. This team is just so deep, you know, both at the major league level and dipping down into Gwinnett. So it's just so impressive what they've been able to do. But we'll move on to some basketball because I know me and you were texting about this earlier tonight. We were wanting to get Fred Campagna and Alan Devlin on, our resident Celtics and Lakers fans, to talk about their teams because they're struggling a little bit here in the conference finals.
A little bit, man. It's rough right now. Are we starting with the game tonight? Are we starting with Lakers and the Nuggets?
Yeah. Let's start with Lakers Nuggets. I have that one up first. What are your thoughts on that series and the game tonight?
My man Allen must be crying right now. Listen, no NBA team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit, not ever in the history of the NBA. Only 3 teams have forced a Game 7, and that's in the playoffs period. I'm not even just talking about in the conference finals. I'm talking about in the playoffs. No NBA team has been able to do it. But, Brett, you know some teams have, and I'm not talking about in the NBA, and other leagues, they have been able to come back from 3-0 deficits. I was doing my research, 4 NHL teams have done it. They have rallied back from being down 0-3 to win it. And then, since you're such a big baseball guy, I'm going to quiz you. 1 MLB team has done it. My photographer, Lee Smith, knew this one, so I'm going to assume you do too. In 2004, which team was able to come back down 0-3?
It was the Red Sox,
in
right?
the playoffs. Yep, the Red Sox.
Yeah.
So 5 teams altogether in all of sports have been able to come back,
That's
but no
crazy.
NBA team has done it yet. So I hate to say it, even though I did pick the Denver Nuggets to move on and go to the finals, I don't think the Lakers stand any chance. But an even better stat, and this is the one I'm going to live on today. The Lakers have trailed down 3-0 in the playoffs 8 times, okay? Or should I say down 0-3? 8 times in the history of the organization, okay? 8 times.
Okay.
They've been swept all 8 times.
Well, yeah.
So,
okay, yeah, no. For a second, I was like, well, yeah, of course they lost. But no, they lost game 4 all 8 times. Wow, that is crazy.
All 8 times. All 8 times. So when they're down 0-3 in the playoffs, regardless of the time, the series, yep, they've been swept all 8 times.
They don't have that dog in them. No fight.
None. So tonight, even though they're in LA, I expect the Denver Nuggets to wrap it up, sweep it out, and in the fourth quarter of that game 3, they went on a 13-0 run. So for me, like, the Lakers just, I don't know, like, what it is. The motivation in game 1 was there, right? Had they won that game late in it, like it seemed like they might, I think they would have had some extra motivation. But I think they're down in the dumps right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough to believe that a team with LeBron James could be down on themselves, but I mean, down 0-3, I guess you are. I said coming into this series, I thought that this series was going to test the Lakers like they hadn't been in the playoffs, other than maybe in that play-in game against the Timberwolves, in which they looked terrible, by the way. I was kind of hoping that the NBA would just say, you know what, neither of you deserve to make it in. We'll take the other two from the other play-in game, because that play-in game between the Timberwolves and the Lakers was so hard to watch. But the next two teams they played after that were smaller teams. They played the Grizzlies, who were without Steven Adams, and the Warriors, who of course are a smaller team. You know, Draymond Green is one of their biggest players. So I think this Nuggets team is just built differently than anything they've seen in this postseason. And I think the size advantage really helped them out in this first two series, and they're having to find a way to win or try to win in other ways here against the Nuggets. And other than, you know, that 1 quarter, 1 half in game one, they've just looked completely outmatched on the court for every minute of this series. So, yeah, I kind of feel like that trend is going to go to 9 games of losing game 4, because I don't know. I haven't seen anything to give me faith that this team can pull a win out. You know, Jokic has just been so good. The Lakers have not been able to figure him out. If you're a Lakers fan, obviously you're down pretty bad right now, but I think it's about to get worse.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, but I also don't see it happening for the next series either. I mean, I'm talking about Miami and Boston. I think I was telling Lee, my photographer, once again earlier today, that I thought that the Heat is one of the like that's one of the best stories in sports right now.
Yeah.
Having the 8th seed, 1 win away from being in the finals, in the NBA finals. I need them to close it out tomorrow in Miami in front of their home court. See, with the Lakers, it's a little different, right? Because they're in LA, they might have a little bit of home court advantage tonight.
Sure.
But Miami, to extend the series, but Miami can wrap it up in their city tomorrow night. Why not? And listen, I think they are beating Boston in like every aspect of the game, in transition, from the arc, in physicality. I mean, their defense. I remember watching the Heat last year, which I don't want to compare last year to this year, but I just want to bring up a point. I remember watching the Heat beat the Hawks, and the one thing I said was, man, they're like so conditioned.
Yeah.
They went up and down the court like it was nothing, and they didn't even break a sweat. I thought Spoelstra really does a good job at keeping these guys, once again, really well conditioned, because there's no drop off from one end of the court to the next. They are so fast. Their defense is suffocating. That's what they did to the Hawks last year. I mean, there were no shots being had by the Hawks because Miami was always in their face. And that's what they're doing to Boston right now. They are all over the Celtics. The Celtics have no chance. It was a complete blowout in game 3. So, I mean, I'm loving Miami. And I thought Miami was going to win this series, because if any of you know me, I went to high school and college in Florida, so I'm going to go for my Florida teams. I'm not a Heat fan, but of course I'm going to pick my Florida teams. So I was like, hey, I want the Heat to win. That's who's going to win. So I was picking with my heart, but I love the fact that they're not letting me down right now. And Jimmy Butler continues to outplay everyone.
Yes. That team has taken on the personality and play style of Jimmy Butler. He is the ultimate underdog, the ultimate just grind it out, do whatever it takes, get 110% out of his body each and every game. I mean, we've seen it, feeling like going back 3 or 4 years now into the bubble and everything in the playoffs. Like, he just has no quit in him, and we've seen it again this year, and he's so loose out there right now. I mean, obviously up 3-0, all the pressure's on the other side, but he is just so loose on the court. You saw him calling the timeout, looking at Al Horford the other night. Like I said with the Lakers, it's dark times for Celtics fans. I sent our Fred Campagna, huge Celtics fan here at Atlanta News First, I sent him a picture the other night of Jason Tatum showing up in his suit for Game 3, and he was all whited out. And I sent a screenshot of it to Fred, and I said, he's a walking white flag, a walking surrender flag, because that's what they did in Game 3. They just absolutely surrendered, no fight. I don't know how you come back from that one and try to put on a performance. I mean, I guess you're going to have to, because that's what you're getting paid to do, and you're an NBA player, you're an elite athlete, and this is a good roster. But obviously, I'm feeling like Miami's going to win this series. Let me ask you this, Emily, and then we'll move on to a little NFL talk. If one of these teams was going to come back and win the series, which one do you think it is? Which one do you have confidence could do that?
It's a great question, Brett. I mean, I guess I would say Boston, because they just played so much better during the regular season and they were pretty consistent. So to me, it would be Boston, because the Lakers throughout the season, they were so wishy-washy, and then they got on a hot streak here towards the end and in the playoffs. But Boston played so well throughout the regular season, and they played decently up until now. So I would think that if I had to pick one to make NBA history and become the first team to come back down 0-3 in a series, Celtics.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm not going to run out and run up to Chattanooga and put a bet on it, but if I had to bet on one of them, that would be the team. We'll get into a little NFL talk now. Emily, you were wanting to talk about Bijan Robinson and about 44 other NFL rookies at the NFL Rookie Premiere out in L.A., or the NFLPA Rookie Premiere out in L.A. This is kind of something the NFL started doing, where they get some of the biggest rookies from the previous draft out in L.A., and you get to see them in their new jerseys, and they do a lot of, I guess it's like a big showcase with some of these young soon-to-be stars. So you're wanting to talk about Bijan out there a little bit tonight. What do you got to say?
Yeah, so Bijan Robinson was out in LA at the Coliseum, at the Los Angeles Coliseum this weekend. This is when they get to take pictures, action shots for their rookie cards, and it is like pure joy. It is like kids running through a candy store. These rookies haven't done anything yet, and you hope that they're going to do something if you're a fan. But they're out on that field in all of their glory, because their whole lives they've been waiting for this moment to see themselves on playing cards, and it is so unbelievably cute. And listening to Bijan Robinson talk about when he was younger, being at Walmart and Target and seeing these cards, and now he's on the card, that was really cool, because the fun stops this week. I say that because OTAs start in Flowery Branch this week. So for the first time, he'll be with his new teammates, and I'm not talking about the rookies. I'm talking about the guys who are already well established. So that fun stops very, very soon. But I know you're going to say this is a dig, Brett, and I'm not trying to make it a dig, but it's going to sound like a dig, because it always is. Yeah, the best 40 rookies get invited out to LA for this. You know what I'm going to say, right?
Oh,
I'm just wondering why. I'm wondering why Stetson Bennett was there.
Well, he's already there. He's already in LA. Great. It wouldn't have been that far of a drive.
That's
either.
What I was about to say. Yes, he was a great college football player, one of the best to ever do it in Athens. He's a Georgia great. But the only reason he was there, in my opinion, is because the Rams drafted him, and he just had to drive down the street to the Coliseum, okay? But we did hear from him, and he talked about taking on, the new role that he has taken on with the Rams. He's the backup to the backup to the backup, and he's been in this role before, so this is nothing new for him. But it was nice to see him in an NFL jersey, a Rams jersey, still rocking number 13. Stetson, surprise us all again. You know what I'm saying? Make me regret my words again. I want to see you kill it in the NFL. Will he ever see a snap? That's yet to be seen. But his Hollywood story continues, Brett. He was at the NFLPA Rookie Premiere, one of 40 guys. So he's doing the right thing, right?
Yeah. The Stetson-Emily rivalry is one of the greatest in all of sports. Definitely Georgia sports.
Again, I don't know how to describe it to people. I am so happy that he's done what he's done. I am elated that he's been able to do that. But I never thought he could. I never thought he could, but I want him to do well. I just never thought I never thought I would see the day that he won one, better yet 2 national championships. But it's awesome. It's so awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he's a winner. What can you say? we've had this talk a few times
That's
before.
right.
Emily, I know you're having to get out of there a little bit early tonight and do some more work. So I'll ask you quickly, and then we'll get out of here. What's on your mind tonight?
I want to take it back to Freddie Freeman. I loved what he said today in the visiting clubhouse. Again, the visiting clubhouse. He never knew what that was like until last year, especially not in this ballpark. He talked about how he couldn't talk to all his former guys because there was no BP today. Batting practice was canceled because of the rain. The tarp was out on the field there for a while. So I thought it was hilarious that he was like, I haven't been able to say hi to everybody yet. I can't get out there yet and say hello to everyone because no BP, but I got a couple of days. So it's going to be a busy few days for Freddie Freeman. Not only is he back home, spending the night in his bed at his house, seeing his family, but he also has to say hello to everyone around the ballpark. All his former teammates, coaches, fans. I mean, that man is like the president in this building. He came out here for a little bit, he was telling us, and he said there was a tour going on in the ballpark. So fans were touring, and he said that he signed for every single fan that was on that tour because they all came up to him.
Yeah.
So he went, So get it, Freddie Freeman. I'm all about it. That's going to stay on my mind for a while. It is very hard to be a superstar on a team in this day and age and do the right thing and be an example. And he is the definition of that. I mean, he truly, truly is. So that standing ovation, you expected the next 3 days, Brett. I definitely expected at least tonight. Fans tonight, definitely cheering for the Braves, but also cheering for Freddie personally.
Yeah. Well, Emily, that is so positive. I'm not even going to say what's on my mind tonight because mine was a bit more
No,
down
go. I want to hear it.
Mine was down the negative
I wanna
street,
hear
and
it.
I want to end on a positive note. So I'll have it later when I'm on ANF Plus Sports Tonight later this week. That's what we call a tease in the business. You'll have to come back for it because it's good. It's also about the Braves, but
I look forward to it.
I want to end on a positive note. So, Emily, we'll see you back here tomorrow night on ANF Plus Sports Tonight.
Thanks, BG. Have a good night, guys.
See ya.